many whites went against their deeply ingrained philosophical positions to vote for him just to prove that they were not racist. And I think that was the problem that led to the election of President Barack Obama.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you saw him, you heard him. Now we say hello to Minister Ben Kinchlow, former longtime co-host of the 700 Club, columnist for WorldNet Daily, and founder of Americans for Israel. Hello, Minister.
Steve, how are you doing? Good to see you, brother. Thanks for having me on your program today.
My pleasure. Thanks for coming on. All right. You know, more and more, it seems, black Americans are speaking up and saying, hey, the Democrats aren't doing anything for us. Barack Obama's not doing anything for us. What do you think is going to happen tomorrow? Because, as you well know, the Democrats all over the country are handing out flyers that if you don't come out and vote Democrat, you're going to lose the right to vote. There's going to be more George Zimmermans around and Trayvon Martin victims and, I mean, every kind of scare tactic you could imagine.
Well, you know, one of the things that we sometimes have to remember is that the transformation that has taken place in our communities is a direct result of why the founding fathers established the First Amendment. They established the First Amendment so that there would be a free, untrammeled press. So in other words, the press would give people the real facts of the matter. Freedom of the press was designed so that there would be an educated population that could make intelligent decisions based on the facts. Unfortunately, that has gotten transformed. So now, for the most part, our media is not providing simple, unbiased facts, but they're reporting, quote, reporting the news from a very distinct leftist or liberal position. And as a result of that, African Americans have become confused between the difference between what is liberal and what is conservative.
Well, how do we remedy that? I mean, look, you know better than I, and I hate to generalize when I say the African-American community, because I know there's all different kinds of African-American people with all kinds of different beliefs. But the African-American community is just as concerned about, you know, education and healthcare and jobs and probably, you know, more so than most because unemployment is higher in that community. And conservatives, you know, would seem to have a better answer for what ails them than what we've seen over the past 6 years from this president, which has made matters worse.
That's correct. But the problem is when you use terminology like conservative and liberals, people have a tendency to go with what they think those things mean. For example, the majority of blacks born before the 1960s believe conservative, which is what the Democrats used to be, stands for the KKK, White Citizens Council, Jim Crow, segregation now and forever, smaller government, strict constitutional judiciary where the government stays out of the way, where the government gets in it. Therefore, whenever the pre-60s African Americans hear the word conservatives, to their mind, it still means lynching, night riders, voter suppression, police dogs, fire hoses, segregation, etc. That's part of the problem, that when blacks hear conservative, that's what they think. On the other hand,
how does that? Yeah, go ahead, Reverend. Go ahead, Minister. Sorry.
On the other hand, when they hear the word liberal, you see, they're thinking that this is what the Democrats stand for: self-determination, individual liberties, a small federal government, and strict constitutionally appointed judges. Unfortunately, it is just exactly the opposite. The liberal position today is a position that enables the government to become the dominant factor in people's lives. Unfortunately, a lot of blacks were brainwashed in believing that voting for Democrat candidates would put them in a position to achieve the civil rights that were actually fought for and passed by the Republican majorities.
Right, absolutely. You had a higher percentage of Republicans in both the House and the Senate voted for the Civil Rights Act than did the Democrats. But, you know, Jews are guilty for probably slightly different reasons of the same preconceived notions about liberals and conservatives and Democrats and Republicans. And I'm sorry to say that as someone who is Jewish. But we got a minute left. What do you think will happen tomorrow? Will the African Americans turn out for the Democrats, or will they stay away, or will they even some of them vote Republican?
It's probably going to be kind of a One third, one third, one third. A lot of them are going to stay at home. They're not going to go out and vote. Probably a third of them are going to go out and vote like they always vote. And hopefully a larger proportion will come out and vote for the real issue, which is to get conservative values into our society where blacks are equal citizens with all the rest of them
Gotcha.
and not members of society's hang-on group.
Minister Ben Kinchlow, appreciate you talking, sir. I appreciate you coming on. I will hope to speak to you again. Coming up next, folks, the Quinnipiac University poll. What does it say?